I chose day 3 of Move, and the theme is When I Despair, God Will Sustain because He is Here. So from the morning session, I have some scripture that I wrote down, Revelation 21:22 and 1 Kings 19. But the main points that I took away from it and that spoke to me were God strengthens us physically and mentally. It stood out to me because a lot of times we rely on our family, our friends, our loved ones to give us the physical and the mental strength that we think that we need, but we never really see that as coming from God, and we never really see God as providing that. And I think it's a good reminder to have. And then I also wrote down, to be sustained is to be strengthened by someone. And that's the definition that he gave, but I believe that that someone is God. So to be sustained, when I despair, I am going to be strengthened by the Lord. So in the evening session, took a lot of notes. Just some more scripture again, 1 Kings 19, 9-8, that talks about Elijah. But some things that I wrote down were, God's hand is bigger than mine. And now the speaker had a great story behind this about how when he was in the candy store, he wanted a handful of candy, but he chose someone else because their hand was bigger than theirs. And I think that that's something to realize, like, in our giving, in our growing, in our helping, that we help, but God's hand is bigger than ours. He is the one who ultimately we are helping, we are giving for. And I wrote down that God's love is deeper than mine, and that's something to remember. He has a deeper love than anyone, and he has the best love for everyone. And that's something I need to work on too, is loving everyone. I learned that I really need to let go of my anger and my relationships and myself as going forth in my future. God's plan will go further than mine. I learned that as well. It's a great thing to keep in mind going into college, I think we've got it all figured out, but ultimately we're just here along his ride and ready for his plan to take action. Some more notes that I had were, we are better at making excuses than differences. And I think that's something very common with teenagers these days. We make excuses, oh, I'm not going to do this because of this, or I didn't do that because of this. And I think that, making those excuses keeps us from hearing what God has to say to us and actually acting upon it and making differences. I learned from the speaker, he said, be honest with people about what's going on in your life. Not only does this open you up, does it get your worries out there, but it could also help others who are struggling but won't and can't speak up. This shows your vulnerability, this builds relationships, builds trust, and it also helps you get through what you're going through. A few more points I have, and one of them is that obstacles are stepping stones. And that's just something to remember. Some obstacles can be really tough, really long, really hard, but we gotta remember that overall those are just a stepping stone in the Lord's plan to get to where we're meant to be. And the last one I have is that circumstances may change, but identities won't. So you may be put in a new town, a new job, you may have a new group of friends, you have a completely whole new circumstance, but you yourself, who the Lord has made you, will not change. So after the lesson, the director, Matt, came up on stage and told us about these 5 words, and they were fear, anger, apathy, loneliness, and shame. And everyone in that room connected with one of those words. One or more, could be 2, could be 3. Everyone in that room, one of those words was a part of their story. And personally for me, mine was anger and mine was fear. I get very angry, mainly just to the important ones in my life, my loved ones. And I put up walls and I try to do things on my own, and I just get angry over those things that I shouldn't. I should just love endlessly through them. And they had scripture, and the scripture was Ephesians 4:26-27, and it's a great reminder that when times come and I get upset, that there's no reason to be upset, just love endlessly. And for my fear part, kind of probably comes a lot from my anger, whenever I block people out and I think, oh, well, no one's going to help me, so I can do this on my own. But then a sense of fear sets in, because who wants to do anything on their own? And I just think so worldly that sometimes I just forget that even if I might physically be alone, spiritually the Lord is always there. And the scripture for that was Deuteronomy 31:8. And so that's pretty much what I got away from that. Our group overall was a lot closer after that night. We all opened up. We all unloaded our burdens. We grew closer. We grew trust. We grew friendships and bonds. And it was a very powerful night. The Lord moved in a lot of people in a lot of ways. And that's why I chose it, because it was my favorite day. It recentered me, refocused me, and I think that it was a great midweek day to keep us going through the rest.